Hey, all, and welcome back to another episode of Afterthoughts. Tim Risto here, host of the Creative Christians podcast, joining you once again. Have you seen Sound of Hope yet? The latest faith-based film from Angel Studios? If not, you probably better go today if you still want to check it out in theaters. I mean, like right now, today, this moment. Because the film really appears to have run out of gas at the box office. After having not even been in theaters for a full month yet, the film's pretty much flatlining at this point. So, yeah, not looking great at the moment. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the numbers, see what we can see there. I've got a little bit of info for y'all too about some of the marketing costs or potential marketing costs. So we'll take a look at that as well. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, share it with someone you love, and be sure and hit that bell notification button so that you can get notified every time a new video drops here at the Creative Christians channel. So let's take a look at the numbers. We're going to go ahead and start with Box Office Mojo and see what they have to tell us. The domestic gross for this is at $11.483 million. Not even a full 11.5 at this point. Film opens strong on the July 4th weekend with a little over $3 million in 2,200 theaters. Again, back on July 4th. Currently, it has been in release for 26 days, 3 weeks basically. Not even a full month as yet, and not quite 11.5 million. So, not really great, unfortunately. Not a great box office take at this point. Worldwide, of course, is the same as the domestic because there's no international. I don't think this film is going to go international. I doubt it. I suppose it's possible they could do a small limited release internationally, but most likely, this film I don't think necessarily has a big international audience for it, really. It doesn't have a big international draw for it the way Sound of Freedom did, and even that film probably had some limited international potential simply because of the subject matter and how that would be reflected in other countries. But still, that did bring in some international numbers. This one I don't think will. This is really more of a U.S. domestic kind of draw to it. But anyway, I think we're looking pretty much at what the final number is going to be. Pretty close to that. Maybe at the very outside we'll hit 12. I don't know. Let's take a look at the weekly numbers here throughout the month real quick. Again, it started out in 2,200 theaters for about the first week or so before dropping down to 2,137, just over 2,000 theaters, but it stayed pretty strongly in that 2,000 theater range until you get down to July 19th when it drops significantly down to 880 theaters. That is a big drop from over 2,000 to just under, pretty significantly under 1,000. So you may be asking what happened between July 18th and 19th for that significant drop to happen. Well, the movie Twisters came out on the evening of July 18th. Official release date was the 19th, but obviously some theaters will start to run them the evening before. They're allowed to do that. So they cleared their theater spaces for Twisters. And so that's why you see such a big drop there. And really from then on, after the 18th, the numbers just drop significantly. And you get down here from the 25th, this last weekend here, we're down to 148 theaters these past 3 days, to where the Sunday average draw here on July 28th was $141. So it has definitely just pretty much flatlined at this point. I don't even know if it will finish out the month of July. Probably will, I would guess. There's only a day or two left. Probably finish out the week, maybe do one more weekend, so they can actually hit, 11.5, maybe even get up to 12 or something like that. But yeah, it's looking pretty well dead in the water at this point. So it may run one more week and then they'll pull it completely before it ultimately heads to Angel streaming service, and probably at some point to physical media, perhaps, or perhaps not. You never know. But yeah, that's where the numbers are at. Not looking particularly well. If you recall in one of my previous videos, the budget for this film, it was crowdfunded for $7.5 million. So, here you've got almost 11.5, and that crowdfunding, I'm not sure of the details of that crowdfunding. So whether those investors will have to be reimbursed. But box office typically takes 50%. So if you get 11.5, they've got 5.7 million that will go to the theaters, and then the rest is profit per se for the studio. But if that 7.5 million that was crowdfunded has to be repaid, then you're already in the hole a couple million. So I don't know. I don't know all the details of all that, but either way, it doesn't look particularly good at the moment. Also want to take a quick look at, I found a little bit more info on the marketing costs or potential marketing costs for the film, which of course would eat into that profit margin as well. So let's hop over to Angel Studios and take a quick look at that. This is kind of the investor section here about Sound of Hope. I'm not sure, there's no dates here, but this was before the release of the film. So this is where, you can invest in the film. Anybody can give money to help for the costs for the film. So here you can see that they had raised $3 million when this stopped. Launch in an estimated 2,000 theaters. They obviously did not make their full goal, otherwise that line would be green all the way. But if you look at their goals here, they started with goal 1, 250,000. That was their minimum. Goal 2 was 2 million. So they could launch in an estimated 1,000 theaters. They completed both those goals. And then, of course, goal 3 was 3 million, so they could launch in an estimated 1,500 theaters. That was completed. Then they were in process on goal 4 to reach 4 million to launch in an estimated 2,000 theaters. Obviously, their ultimate goal looks like was this one here, 5 million to launch in an estimated 2,500 theaters. You'll see here goal 4 is listed as being in progress, and they raised, at least according to this website here and where it stopped here on this page, 3.1 million. So they didn't really make their 4 million goal, and certainly didn't make their 5 million goal. But so what is all this? So this is kind of interesting information here about the marketing of a film. P&A stands for prints and advertising. It's actually an old theatrical industry term from back when movies were printed onto physical film. The term is still widely used today to describe the cost of taking a finished film like Sound of Hope, The Story of Possum Trot, and marketing it to moviegoers. P&A is a crucial piece of the marketing budget for a film and may be appealing to certain investors. With P&A, money is only raised after the film is already made, and any potential return to P&A investors is paid directly out of theatrical proceeds, meaning P&A investors get paid right after the theater gets paid. So it's the last money in and the first money out. Okay, so the film's been made, crowdfunded on that 7.5 million. Then they go and raise money for the P&A here from other investors. And so then that theatrical figure we looked at, that almost 5 million, is used to pay back these people here that invested in the P&A first. Of course, theaters take their cut, then they pay back these people. So again, you see there was 3 million raised, and so that amount would have to go back to, presumably, to the investors. So that money that came in from the theaters then goes to pay back these investors. So you've got that much in a hole. And again, it appears like the marketing costs were probably in this, the goal was for $5 million. So $7.5 million for fundraising for the film, then potentially $3 to $5 million here for some marketing costs. Again, do the math. It just doesn't look good for the film making much of any profit at all. So why is it? Why is the film not doing very well? If you've seen my review, you know that I'm a big fan of it. I think it's a very good film. It's very well done. But, there's a couple of reasons why it's probably not doing well. One, as I mentioned, within a few weeks of the film opening, it was inundated by Twisters, number one, which has been cleaning up at the box office, doing very well. And second, just recently here, Deadpool and Wolverine. That movie opened and has been cleaning up at the box office. Both of them tearing up the box office, pun intended. Both Twisters and Deadpool and Wolverine. So, how can a little emotional, faith-based film compete against those kind of big juggernaut type Hollywood entertainment films? So definitely has struggled that way. Also, as I mentioned before in other videos, this film really is aimed at a more female audience, which is not the bulk of moviegoers typically. Males are typically the ones that go to theaters to watch movies. And they certainly are not going to be as likely to go see an emotional drama like Sound of Hope, especially when you've got competing films like Twisters and Deadpool and Wolverine. So the appeal, obviously, was a little more limiting. So I think that's part of it. Aimed at a different demographic that is not the dominant box office target audience. And then, as we've talked in other videos too, there's the whole issue of executive producer Letitia Wright, who didn't do the film any favors by, taking to task the Daily Wire, who was helping to promote the film on the back end. So I think that probably created some negativity. A lot of the audience for Sound of Hope were most likely, a lot of Daily Wire supporters and viewers. So when you alienate that big demographic, big part of your audience, you're not doing your film any favors. So I'm certain that didn't help matters much either. But anyway, just wanted to take a look at those numbers today. What do you all think? Have you seen Sound of Hope yet? Do you intend to catch it yet in theaters? If so, you better run out right now and catch it. Otherwise, I'm sure you'll be able to see it on Angel's streaming service and presumably other streaming services too in the not too distant future, and maybe a physical media release. I will follow up on both those, let you know about streaming release date as soon as I get info on that, and we'll also take a look at any physical media release that comes out. I will probably pick up a Blu-ray release, assuming they release it on that, or even a 4K release if they were to do that. I haven't seen many Christian films do 4K releases yet, so not as likely, but presumably it'll hit DVD and Blu-ray. But we'll take a look at that as soon as I get any info on that. Otherwise, you all have a great day. Go out and watch Sound of Hope if you haven't yet. And above all else, stay in God's Word. Thanks, y'all. See you next time. Bye-bye.